Sup, fuckers?
How the hell are you?
He's over here waiting on you, and you're just like...
Sketches blowing doomsdays over here.
He's trying to reminisce about the stories from his great-grandmother from Hiroshima. Ripping those fat clouds.
The old rice cookers.
Wow, dude, wow.
Damn.
You can say that because he's Asian.
I don't know. Is the fascination with smoke come more from the Asian side or the German side?
Yes.
There is some kind of like fascination and fear, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So like if you're afraid of the smoke, you have fascination with it.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense.
If you are creating the smoke, you probably have a fascination with it.
Well, if that's the case, I am terrified of Gina Carano. That
smoke show.
Oh, yep, smoke show. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
But if she showed up, I'd be so afraid, but I'd have to be fascinated just to be able to get over the fear.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Fair point. So we're just gonna riff. I've got this pages and pages of topics, so I'm just gonna close my eyes and point to one, and we'll just riff on it, and then when we burn that down, we'll go for another one.
Okay.
Ready?
Ready.
Simulation theory.
So I just watched the whole, or I listened to, like last week. I can't remember what his name was. Some like he's like a Indian guy, like Indian.
Dot Indian, not feather.
Not feather.
The look on Stitch's face, like, can't believe you guys just said that.
Like, how are you doing? Not how. I love Native Americans.
Well, there's a difference between and
Wow, that was super racist.
Mega racist.
Off the top.
I'm half brown, I can say that.
I know.
What?
I have friends that are racist, I can say that. When I watched this, or listened to, Joe Rogan had this guy that has written like 2 or 3 books on simulation theory. And it's a crazy subject that, like, the more I listened to it, the more that it just made sense that maybe we really are living in a simulation. But there was 2 types of... So in his mind, there's 2 different scenarios. Either there's one where we're all NPCs and we're just coming to the realization that we're sentient. You know, our sentient minds have just kind of evolved sentience in the last, couple hundred years. Or there's like the RPG, classic RPG style game where it's like you are playing the main character or everybody's playing their own main character
And you're building yourself up.
Right. Really super interesting. More so to me, the one that made more sense was the NPC thing where we're all just like kind of the background noise in somebody else's game that we don't really notice they're even there because we're just living our own lives or whatever as NPCs. But yeah,
kind of like work because you're making someone else money, but majority of people are just working for a company.
Yeah. And I think he even talks about that too. Is like it doesn't really make sense that like what are we really working for? What are we doing? How is our society built on this
Ideology.
notion of money and like, it doesn't really make sense if you think about it.
No, it doesn't.
What do you think, Stitch?
I think there's a high probability we're living in a simulation, yeah. Have you ever had deja vu of a place where you know you've never been?
Yep.
I feel like that could be due to simulation, coding.
Yeah, he talks about that also as like, as the game gets replayed and replayed and replayed, whoever's the main character of the game is like starting over, dies or whatever, it starts over. So when we have deja vu, it's like because we're reliving the same play out of our NPC lives in this simulation.
It's like when we were going to Capitol Reef, we were passing by a gas station, and I could have sworn I fucking been there before, but I never have.
Interesting.
I've talked about it before with deja vu. My personal belief, and I have no bearing of why or any kind of like thought process that has led me to this idea, where I think what's happening with deja vu is you're vibrating at the same frequency as another version of you in another reality, and you're experiencing what that person is or has experienced in that same moment. It's just another time-space fabric laying onto itself moment, and other than that, I really can't think of any other reason. As for simulation theory, I could see it being possible, but that question that you brought up is the only reason why I don't 100% believe it. It's, if this is a simulation, what's the point?
Yeah.
When you run a simulation on, let's say you're trying to become a pilot and you run the simulator, it's because you're learning how to take off in that aircraft, fly it, and land it.
Right.
There is an A to B goal. What's the goal here? I mean, if the goal is to go to work, pay bills, and fucking die, well, we're getting that done.
Well, I think that's where
So
the NPC
also-
thing comes into play.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
NPC versus the RPG. So if it's an RPG, if you're just replaying the same game to try, just like if you've played a game before and you beat the game, if that was fun, I'm going to try to do it again, but I'm going to try to do it better this time. And so you replay the game, you're going through all the steps, but you've learned a few things and you're trying to do it a little bit better each time and getting a higher score or a better outcome.
Yeah, I get that. I think for me, it just takes away a lot of the spirituality aspect of where you're constantly trying to evolve and grow into being a better person, to where that there is some kind of end goal in mind, whether it's go to heaven or join the collective or whatever it is that you're supposed to do at the end when you finally like ascend and reach that nirvana or whatever. It takes away from that, and it makes me feel a little bit more helpless as it is, because it's like, okay, cool, I'm a character in a game, and then when I'm done, I have to restart and do it over. That sounds terrible.
Yeah. Well, I think the way that he described it, he kind of tied it in with like reincarnation.
Yeah.
As you're trying to, the end game of the goal is you're trying to reach nirvana, right?
Yeah.
Like you come back as a different NPC almost?
Possibly, or the same, you're playing the same game, but that doesn't make sense in a history sense, unless, the history is just programmed into our internal memory. It's hard to say. I don't think that we're in a simulation just because everything is so super real, but who's to say that we haven't advanced that far to have this reality?
So here's my other problem with it is, if we're living in a simulation, I would think they would need to be more individual. So let's just say this is my simulation, which would mean you're not real and you're not real. You guys are NPCs and I'm the actual player of the game. So how much data would it take for almost 9 billion people to be able to have their own simulation versus are we all living in are we living in a communal simulation? Either way, you're talking about processing power that our little minds can't even grasp. And you think about, like, when you play a video game, even if it's a big open world video game and it's ran by the best engine in the world, it still only produces graphics for whatever section of the game you're in. So it would have to produce tons and tons and tons of data just to be able to supply, 100 people at the same time with an open world construct. And technologically, I don't think we're there yet, but that's not to say that there isn't some other entity that has that power. But again, it just comes back to what is really the point. I understand reincarnation more because it does attach itself to that spirituality of, like, okay, you have more room to grow to be able to reach this higher level where you need to be to win your prize or whatever it is. But within a simulation, it's like, okay, I can keep essentially reincarnating either as myself or as other characters, but then what? I reach a certain level and then what? They just pull the plug on me and they shut me down? The other thing with simulation theory that...
Or you get bored and move on to a new game.
That could be. Like, I'm down to get into another game. Strap me down in some Halo, baby. Let's go.
343 fucked that up, though.
I don't know. I still love Halo.
But it doesn't feel the same.
Well, nothing ever does.
Yeah.
When it's been out for 20 years and multiple iterations. The other thing with simulation theory that I do get boggled on is when you see people will post, like, pictures and videos and things like that of shit that just doesn't make sense. Where, like, a bird is stuck in the air. It's not flapping, but it's...
I seen that the other day.
Yeah, and it's... Even Yeg has experienced it in real life.
Oh, really?
Or, there's one video that gets me every fucking time where this person is in, like, a high-rise, I don't know if it's a hotel or their apartment or whatever, and they're looking out the window, and they see this door, like, literally a door to a house, just flying through the air, coming right at them, and they move to a different pane of glass, and it's not there. Crazy shit. Oh, dude, it's bananas. But the fact that they caught it on video is so cool. Or, like, this one lady looks at this river from one angle and it's moving and it's choppy, like there's high wind, and then looks at it from another angle and it's still not moving at all.
How old are these videos then?
Fairly recent.
It's crazy because AI can now create videos, so it's like it's becoming harder to believe what you see online.
Well, it always has been. It's less about believability and more about intrigue for me at this point.
Yeah,
where I watch it and I go, that's
kind of
crazy.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's where theorizing about it is much more important to me than actually understanding it, because I don't think my mind could grapple if we were living in a simulation or if reincarnation was actually real. That's why we talk about it and theorize about it, because that's the only way I think we can actually handle that information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's pick another one. Here we go. Ready? Manosphere. So, manosphere is really this recently kind of risen culture where...
I don't know what it is, for all intents and purposes.
It's, you get these people who are huge proponents of being super pro-male and kind of pushing an overt male agenda of what you're supposed to be as a man and how you're supposed to do things, and being super pricks about it. You think about Andrew Tate or even the Liver King, people like that, especially social media influencers, guys like that who tell us that we're supposed to be supermen and we're supposed to dominate everything and control everything and be in full power and all this other shit.
Yeah, I think it's pretty dumb.
I agree.
I think that every person is here to experience what they're supposed to experience, and they get to think and feel and act however the fuck they want to about it. They don't have to be trapped in some other person's ideology of how a male should be or how a female should be. Like, if that works for you, cool. Good for you.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
I don't know that much about this topic to really dive into it.
You gotta speak up just a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board with what you just said. You're here to experience what you're here to experience, and I like the ideology of the Wiccans, and it harm none, do what you will. You don't need to be a dick. You don't need to be toxic. You don't need to push people around to get what you want. Just be a good person.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Colby, just do the best you can.
But I feel helpless in this situation.
Definitely not afflicted by the manosphere, I guess.
No.
Nope.
Yeah, we've talked about it a few times on here. That's the only reason why I know what he's talking about, what the manosphere is. And the first time he brought it up when he was talking about Andrew Tate, I was like, I think I know who that is. And then, like, after that, I went through and kind of watched some of his videos. I was like, yeah, this guy fucking sucks. This guy's an idiot.
Well, who's to define what a man should and shouldn't be? Like, the saying where what's chaos to the fly is normal to the spider. Who are we to define what fucking normal even is?
Yeah.
That's very elegant. And again, it just comes down to the only person who has a say in what kind of man I should be is me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
you want to be a super nerd? Be a fucking super nerd. You want to be a coward? Be a coward. Like, who?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. And I don't think any of us should go around, like, inflicting what we think on other people.
Yeah.
Within reason. I mean, obviously, you can have interpersonal conversations and, if somebody is doing wrong, you'll try to course correct them within reason. I'm not going to go to you and be like, it's fucking dumb that you have a PlayStation. You should only have an Xbox.
Right.
Like, that's retarded.
Yeah.
Instead, it's just like, oh, shit, you have a PlayStation and an Xbox. That's dope. Yeah. Cool, let's play games. Right. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of the manosphere is just a lot of extremely weak and toxic men trying to sell other people a lie.
Yeah.
Of, this is what you should be doing. This is how you have to operate. Your wife should be subservient to you. You should be able to take what you want and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you guys are dumb.
It's kind of like when people try to tell you how to raise your kids online, social media influencers and shit. Like,
oh, yeah.
Each kid has a different personality and different quirks. Just because one kid reacts this way to this thing doesn't mean your kid is going to react the same fucking way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People are dumb. Well, let's see here. Let's turn this page. Let's flip to one of these. Montauk / Philadelphia experiment.
Ooh. So Colby says he doesn't know what these two things are. So the Philadelphia experiment was an experiment that was allegedly done in the, was it 60s?
I think it was in the 50s.
50s? Where they were trying to develop a cloaking device for naval ships in the Navy, and they call it
degaussing.
Degaussing. So the magnetic signature of a ship in the water can't be picked up by radar. So it was a way for the Navy to try to disguise their ships in the water as they're floating. So by doing this, they developed these machines that they thought were going to do this. So allegedly, they were out in this harbor and they're going to test it. They turn on the machine and the ship gets engulfed in like a green smoke, which they later classify as St. Elmo's fire, which is it's actually what happens when you turn on a degaussing device. And it's like electrical current that goes around the ship. But then the ship totally disappears and then shows up again 15 minutes earlier.
What?
In New York? Is that right? Another harbor that's like hundreds of miles away.
Pennsylvania, I think.
And is there for a number of minutes, and then
disappears again,
and then shows back up where it was originally at. And
so
in that process,
ship actually moving, or is that how the radar's picking it up?
No, they saw it disappear in one place and then appear in another place.
Holy fuck!
And then minutes later reappears where it was originally, but allegedly again, there's a lot of people that just disappear that are on the ship, disappear completely or just gone forever. And then there are another number of people that are kind of infused with the hull of the ship. So they're kind of like half in a wall, half out of it, screaming, terrified, dying, because they just kind of like were going halfway through the wall and then kind of just everything went back to normal and they got fused inside the wall of the ship. So that's the Philadelphia experiment.
So just to add a little bit to that, allegedly the technology used on the ship was built by Nikola Tesla. So he came up with this, and it's not outside the realm of possibility to me that he actually built a teleportation device. This guy was out there scientifically.
Yeah.
Came up with all kinds of crazy shit. To tie that to Montauk, there was two brothers aboard the ship who allegedly bailed out of the ship while it was in this time warp and landed in another time. And they were part of what's called the Montauk Project, and it was based out of Camp Hero in New York. I'm pretty sure it's in New York. But allegedly they were running all these crazy tests and things like that at Camp Hero that had to do with teleportation and interdimensional travel, as well as tests on animals and things like that, trying to fuse different breeds together. There was supposedly a chair where this one guy who was psychically powerful could sit in the chair and he could manifest things out of thin air. Like the guy who was the military guy who was overseeing the base, he loved Coke. And so the psychic guy would sit in the chair and he would manifest a Coke on this guy's desk every day. And just all these kind of crazy stories that come out of there. The show Stranger Things is based on Montauk. Very rich and crazy history. A lot of it is purported to be horseshit, but the people who live outside of the base, across the river or whatever, have found these crazy looking animals that are pretty much unclassified by science, just wash up on shore dead. And this one family actually found one of them while they were at the beach, wrapped it up in plastic, took it home, put it in their freezer, and then these government people would come and knock on their door and say, we need to take that, we need to take it from you and take care of it or whatever. And they would refuse, no. And then one night the whole family went out and they came back and it was gone. Somebody broke into their house, didn't take anything else, but took that creature out of the freezer. And it was like this big, huge pig-looking thing.
I think I've seen that running around.
I know where you're going with that. But that whole story kind of ended in pretty gnarly controversy because one of the guys who was part of that project came out with this program for what they called the Montauk Boys. And there were all of these test subjects because they would capture runaway kids and things like that and run tests on them. And so he was running this program for rehabilitation for the Montauk Boys. And part of that rehabilitation meant basically he was molesting all these kids who thought they were Montauk boys, but he was brainwashing them to think that they were Montauk boys.
I know someone at dream job that would be.
Jesus Christ. You ever listen to...
Are they hiring?
You ever listen to Anthony Jeselnik?
Anthony Jeselnik?
The comedian?
Oh,
he tells like super dry jokes with like awesome punchlines. He's like, my uncle used to work at a camp for kids who were about to be molested. Says he's never worked a day in his life. The pay's not great, but the benefits, oh.
Jeez.
He's so fucking hilarious.
So, these are all topics that we're going to cover more deeply in like their own episodes and stuff like that. So we're just kind of like touching base on some of these, and we'll have to do more research on all these topics that we're talking about. But from what you've kind of listened to and watched and read about so far, what do you think about these projects as being real?
I think the...
Do you think the human is fully capable of telekinesis?
Yes. For sure.
Some, for sure.
I think...
Some can barely fucking communicate.
I didn't say bend over kinesis. I said telekinesis.
Oh my god.
Telekid what?
Just so everybody knows, we're talking about one specific person who has Kid Diddler vibes.
And
like,
he walks like a penguin.
What?
What?
I'm pretty sure his dream job is like a producer in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Or a priest.
Or a priest, yeah. As for it being real, I feel like the disinformation campaigns are so strong and so powerful at debunking all these things that it's like, it makes me question, did it really happen? And you just, whoever was in charge of debunking already just had it so perfectly lined up that it's like, we wouldn't even ask questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah, I actually was listening to a thing about the Philadelphia Project this morning, and one of the theories was the Philadelphia Project was actually a project to see how well they could make up a cover story. And so, like, they came up with this whole thing, had this guy, like, write all these letters about what, you know, his experience in the project was, and then they pushed him out there. Kind of, it was like a CIA operation to see how well they could manipulate the public's view.
Yeah. 9/11.
COVID.
The moon landing.
Dugway.
The 2020 election.
The 2020 election. The 2024 election.
Yeah, I think regardless of if those things are real or not, they make extremely entertaining stories.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think?
Like everything we cover, I think that they're all based in some form of reality. You know, whether all the stories have been passed down through the telephone game and elaborated through time, you know, it has a huge possibility for those things to take a fucking weird turn. Like, just like talking about how, like, Stranger Things was based off Montauk. Loosely based off of it, but, like, if you tell that to somebody enough times, and that person tells somebody, and that person tells somebody, pretty soon it's like, yeah, Stranger Things is the story of Montauk.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there's some truth behind every story.
I think, though, the number one factor in all of these stories, no matter if it's paranormal or UFO or government program related, they all kind of have the same thing in common.
Rick Doty.
Rick Doty.
Rick
fucking Doty. No, it's always the lead person who's the biggest, loudest voice for spilling the beans on these stories. They're always a fucked up individual. They're either afflicted by perversion, or they're an outright liar, or their personality is so outlandish that you can't buy into it. So it's like it's super easy to discredit the whole story because of the one person who's like the face of that story. Fucking Stitch.
He's finger cannoning the fucking mic.
We know guys like that.
Yeah. It's not like, you know, if information on Montauk came out and the spokesperson was this totally rational, reasonable person, it would have more credence versus even if the guy who was running it and wasn't molesting boys, you might be like, there's some believable shit here, but the fact that he was doing the things he was doing discredits almost everything he has to say because he's a sick fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You look like a Montauk boy, Stitch.
What's that butthole do?
You know one thing that's always impressed me about you?
What?
That you look like a child molester and the child he molested. All at the same time.
Masturbation must be confusing.
I fucking hate you.
Like, how the fuck do you look 14 and 40 at the same time?
How come your chin disappears when your beard disappears?
I've been asking that same question a long time. Wouldn't be fair to have this beard and a nice chin at the same time.
Yeah, that's fair.
True.
It's kind of like I have a face for radio, but a cool personality. Wouldn't be fair to have both. We can't all be Chris Hemsworth.
Face for radio, but a beard for a fucking big screen.
That's right. If you just look at this part, you're like, okay,
Lumberjack.
not bad. And then this, you're like, It's like my grandpa used to say, you're so fucking ugly you could trick or treat over the phone.
Or over a London Bridge.
Fucking low blow, dude. Low blow.
I should have put that in the fucking rules.
I wish I could give context for that, but
Yeah, we're not going to go there.
I'm not going to do that one. If anybody's curious, you can ask me in person. Let's pick another one. Suicide Mountain in Japan.
Oh.
Are we talking about kamikazes or?
Do you know about this?
Nope.
Dude. Do some fucking
Research
on your family
People?
origin.
On your heritage.
Do some genealogy. What is it called? Fucking Yukushima Forest?
Something like that.
That's
a
Japanese name.
That's a Stitch thing
Forest.
right there.
So it's this forest that surrounds Mount Fuji in Japan.
Okay.
And for some reason, it's like a destination that lots of people go to commit suicide in this forest.
Do you think that has to do with anything with spirits, or?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean...
Well, I feel like I should be asking you, but you clearly don't fucking know.
I was hoping to fucking get the details from an actual Asian. But,
From a Japanese Asian.
That's fair.
There's a lot of crazy videos about people going and exploring this forest. So there's a main path that goes through the forest, just like hiking trails here. It's a super dense forest. And oftentimes when people go to commit suicide, they'll go on the trail for however long they're walking the trail, and then they tie a rope to a tree on the side of the trail and go off into the forest, off the trail, camp there for a little while, and then commit suicide. But they'll have a rope that leads to their campsite so that people, like their family, or like when people go searching for them, they can find where they're
quickly.
at. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know how many people it is every year that commit suicide in this forest, but it's like thousands, if not tens of thousands, that have done it historically.
Yeah, it's a lot. And
Per year?
Not per year, just
well,
people just
in general.
Yeah,
over the time it's been known for that. It's several thousands.
Holy shit!
But I think it's estimated up to like 1,100 people a year go in there to commit suicide.
Good God.
Yeah, I watched this video on it a while back.
So are they all Japanese people, or are they people that are visiting, or
both?
Both?
Mostly Japanese people. But
okay, I was just wondering if it had like the same effect on foreigners.
Well, I think on the foreigner side, people hear about it, especially people who are mentally unwell, and go, you know what, I'm going to go up to Suicide Mountain. I'm going to do it there.
So then they won't suspect anything.
Well, it's more like they're just already fucking...
They're gone.
Yeah, they've already made the choice that they're going to go. They might as well add to the lore.
Yeah.
You might as well go see Japan before I go.
Yeah. Yeah, what I find crazy about it was I watched this video of... I don't know what this guy's job was. Maybe he was just like a documentarian or something, but he goes in there with a couple of people, and they go in the morning because you don't want to be in there at night because they say that there's a lot of hauntings, and you can hear spirits and things like that at night. But they travel 2 miles off the trail and find no more than a dozen campsites where people have committed suicide. And it's such a big rabid problem that like local authorities barely go in there to investigate. They just assume people in the region, when they go missing, that's where they are. And so every year they try to do like a big canvas where they get thousands of people out there and find dozens, hundreds of different campsites and suicide places and dead bodies, things like that.
So these people that are doing this, do they have a tendency to commit suicide too?
The people who go in and search?
Yeah.
Some have, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fucking bananas.
Yeah, I've seen probably about 8 or 9 different, like, paranormal investigation teams that go into the forest, and...
At least one of them offs himself?
No.
Oh, okay.
They go in there and do, like, spirit boxes and stuff like that, and a lot of them get, like, some pretty... crazy anomalies on there, and it's YouTube, so it's like, who knows what they're
what's video edited, what's
right,
real.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But a place like that, like, I wouldn't want to go in there by myself at night, just because I do believe in that, traumatic things make energies linger in certain areas, and
they can kind of feed off of your negative. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's actually a couple different movies that are filmed on this premises, on this forest, about like the hauntings in the forest and stuff like that. Pretty good movies.
Yeah, there was a...
Can I have a name of one of these movies?
I can look it up later about...
There's one starring, what's her face? I can't think of her name off the top of my head. She was in Game of Thrones. She always had like the side of her head shaved.
Right.
Yeah.
The one that's in Hunger Games also.
Yeah. Natalie Dormer.
Yeah.
So she goes into the mountain looking for her twin sister who's gone missing.
Okay.
And that's all I'm going to tell you, because if I tell you anymore, it gets spoiled. It's not a bad movie. It's not great, but they definitely could have played up the spiritual horror aspect a little bit more. But knowing what you know, do you think there's any specific reason that people go there to commit suicide?
I Knowing what I know, no. I'd have to research this further.
How about you, Spence?
The only thing I think, because Japanese culture believe in a lot of demonic entities. So unless this place is riddled with what they believe in, I can't really think of anything else.
So it's called Aokigahara Forest, also known as the Sea of Trees. Forest has a historical reputation as the home of the Yuri ghosts of the dead in Japanese mythology. Since the 1960s, it's become associated with suicide and become known in English by the nickname Suicide Forest. So anybody looking to go on vacation?
Probably don't go there. Maybe try the Bahamas.
Maybe try Tokyo.
Yeah, try Tokyo.
Maybe go to Indonesia.
Or Himeji Castle.
Do you think there's some kind of spiritual draw there?
I think that...
That's what I'm curious on. Like, do you think demonic presences are able to manipulate your mind on going there when you're dealing with depressive episodes or anxiety-ridden episodes?
We've talked about it before, and I've said on here that like I believe that energies are a collective thing, so that if you're in a super negative space and you have like a negative charge to your energy, you're going to be drawn to negative things. And if you've got this huge magnetically negative force in a certain area, you might be drawn to that if you're on that certain frequency at that time. Like, yeah, I can see that.
I agree, but I also think a good amount of the culture has to go with it. Of like, especially if you live in that area and you are feeling suicidal, you're just going to fall in line and just go, yeah, I'm just going to go up to Suicide Mountain and do it there.
Yeah.
Just adding more.
It becomes kind of almost like a cultural norm to, this is what you're supposed to do when you're going to do this. And
it's kind of like, people in San Francisco jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge, or any cliffside community where it's going to have like one spot where people tend to do it because, it's the highest spot or whatever. And I definitely think that plays a huge factor, but I agree with you that there has to be some kind of draw where if you're already in that mind space that you're going to be pulled to that location in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's pick another one.
Yeah, I would love to get into that topic and do a deep dive in that.
Oh yeah, I think that'd be a good one. And not just because of...
Well, it's kind of like samurais believe in seppuku, so is that kind of just like a Japanese tradition?
That's definitely the culture for samurai, and not because it's just a natural form of things, it's just what they were taught.
Right, so like with the forest, is that kind of a similar situation?
I would say in some way it is, where maybe in some way they're kind of cultured to believe if you go commit suicide there, then you're not
dishonoring your family or anything?
Maybe you're not a burden to other people, because you think about it, if you were going to go home and commit suicide, let's say you're going to shoot yourself, quick, painless, done.
But then you're a mess to clean up for your
huge
spouse.
Mess. Somebody has to find your body. And then it's probably going to be your spouse or your children.
And they're constantly going to relive that moment anytime.
Every time they walk into that room,
yeah,
they're going to think about that. Plus, on the backside of it, you are going to hurt resale on your house because, this person committed suicide in this house. Well, I don't want to fucking buy this place. Somebody died there.
Yeah.
So, I think in some way...
Hey, can you imagine being fucking haunted by Stitch?
Oh, God. No, it would honestly be
Bathroom's fine. Always fucking locked.
Because every hour his ghost would have to go take a shit.
Every time you go in there, fucking toilet paper's gone.
Hey, I've gotten better at this IBS situation.
You're just like, fuck, it stinks in here, but there's nothing in here.
I think I've gotten it down to 2 to 3 times a shift.
No, yeah. I'm not going to stop making fun of you for it, though.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean...
But it used to be bad.
What's your favorite type of fairy? Fair enough.
Fair
enough. Okay.
Fucking deep cut there. Alright, let's see what we got here. Actually, I'm going to hand this off to you. You pick one. You can look through it, or you can pick at random.
Oh, I just did that.
There's another page, just so you know.
Nazis in the occult.
I'm not a professional in this, even though they say I will be.
Come on, dude.
Bullshit!
Come on. Just talk about what you did on Saturday night. Come on.
Do you do goose step salutes in your Doc Marten boots?
No.
When your wife says she loves you, do you say white power?
No.
Do you feel awkward doing goose steps in Yeezys?
It's pretty natural.
It's actually really comfortable.
He came out as a racist and all.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
Ties in.
The math is mathing.
So, yeah, I mean, we've talked about Nazis and the occult quite a bit.
Hey, these shoes might be ugly as fuck, but they are comfortable as shit.
And we've established that Stitch isn't at the age yet where he, looks into World War II shit.
Correct.
It's one of those things where you ask him about the Nazis and he's like, I don't know, but I've been meaning to get into it.
But...
Is that a squirrel?
the Marvel kind of dabbles in the whole lure of Nazis in the occult, kind of with like Captain America and shit like that. I mean, they label it something different, but it's kind of based off of the whole notion of like Hydra being the Nazi leader in occult practices.
So the Nazis had a couple of regimes within the Nazis that were into occultism and things like that, and very interesting read. So there's the Vril Society and the Thule Cult Society. And the Vril are the ones who allegedly escaped World War II by getting in a spaceship and fucking off. Definitely super interesting if you decide to go down that rabbit hole, but it's basically Hitler dumping money into these occult research, and then the people he assigns to oversee it end up buying into it super hardcore and becoming part of it. And the Vril especially were they basically idolized this fluid that was like the fluid of life. It could power machines, it could cure sickness and do all these crazy shit. Methamphetamines,
yes.
Which
4 and 5
learned from you that Hitler dabbed heavily in.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Hitler was a fucking meth head, dude.
Really?
Yeah. He had a doctor that would fucking dope him up all day long and then, like, give him downers to go to sleep at night.
What the fuck?
The last, like, couple years of his life, alleged last years of his life, he was heavily medicated on cocktails of cocaine and methamphetamine.
I was unaware of this. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's even crazier considering that's your great grandpa and you didn't know that. On your dad's side.
Whoa. My dad's side is the Japanese side.
Oh, sorry, mom's side.
So the
my mom's side is the Irish and Scottish side.
The other regime of Nazis, what is it called? The
Thule cult?
Thule cult?
Yeah. They're the ones who brought Hellboy into the world.
So are those the ones that are supposedly in Antarctica, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So since we actually did like a full episode on this, we'll just keep it simple. Do you believe that the Nazis actually like used cultism successfully?
Depends on what you define as success. I think that they were definitely trying whatever the fuck they could in every avenue of everything they could kind of try to utilize. I do believe that Hitler believed big time in the occult, and looking at the outcome of the war, it seems like he was unsuccessful. But
quite unsuccessful.
In looking at researching stuff like what's it called, Das Bell or the Bell?
Die Glocke.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm surprised Colby didn't pop that off.
Die Glocke. There are theories that was successful, and who knows what he was able to conjure up. I mean, you think of occultism as like magical practices, or like practices that deal with like witchcraft or stuff like that. Who knows what he was able to conjure up, and in the interim he was able to kill millions of people, so maybe he was successful in some of his endeavors.
Yeah, his ovens ran great.
Fuck. Dude, we need to...
Something we have an issue with.
Again? Holy.
God. And I say fucked up shit.
Okay, here we go. I'll do another one. That was Large Hadron Collider, for sure.
No, let's do Large Hadron Collider.
It ruined a coworker's life. But he's trying to pull an Uno Reverso.
Dude, really, have they turned it back on?
A few times.
Recently?
Yeah.
They fired that Uno Reverso is coming, dude.
Uno?
They just fired it up a couple months ago.
I just think he needs a Traeger and he'll be good.
No comment. I love smoked meats.
And World War II.
And World War II. So where do I straddle that line, dude? I'm getting to the age where I like both of them equally.
That just means you've ascended. You're this close to reaching full nirvana.
Yeah?
No, I think...
Valhalla you go.
So what's funny about the Large Hadron Collider is that that's tied directly to Mandela effect. And people say that, like, those two aren't related. I don't know about that. Theoretically, if you were to fire up a particle collider of that power, let's say there are multiple universes, you are creating enough energy that you could potentially meld the two together, and that's what they think Mandela effect is. Do you know what Mandela effect is?
Yep.
Okay. So they believe that's where it started.
Bernstein Bears, Fruit Loops, Looney Tunes, yeah.
You know where the origin of the Mandela effect came from? This has to do with racism.
I wasn't going to say it.
Nelson Mandela.
Yeah.
Apartheid. None of that's funny, but that's where it stems from.
As there's laughter in the background.
I saw you cringe a little bit when he said Nelson Mandela, so it's getting harder and harder for you to hide it. It was just a slight wince. It was just like a twitch of the eye.
That motherfucker.
No, yeah, I agree. Like,
so the thing is that Mandela effect dates back to 2008, and people say, well,
is that 2008?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I swear it was earlier than that.
No,
that might be a Nelson Mandela effect. Right?
It could be, but that's when people say, excuse me. That's when that theory came about. When I can't remember the lady's name who came up with the idea.
Travis.
I'm pretty sure her name wasn't Travis. But people like to argue, okay, well, the Large Hadron Collider wasn't online then. No, but it did a test fire in 2008.
So do you think these are pretzels we're eating? Maybe pretzels were always sticks.
Do you think that's air you're breathing?
The Berenstain Bears is the one that gets me the fucking most.
The Berenstain Bears?
Yeah. Because I remember it the other fucking way around. Like, heavily.
Yeah, me too.
What about the cornucopia and the Fruit of the Loom logo?
I remember that too.
How do you spell Fruit Loops?
Loops.
No, fruit.
Fruit.
Loser. It's FROOT.
FROOTLOOPS.
Is that how it actually is now? Or is that how you guys remember?
That's how it was when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Huh?
So the one that really gets me is the cornucopia and the Fruit of the Loom logo, because this one lady was like messaging Fruit of the Loom on social media saying it was there, I know it's there, and they're like, no, I don't know why people say this, it's not true. So she went around to all these Goodwill stores
And found it?
found all these different shirts and pants and underwear, well, not underwear, but all these things with the logo on it, and it's there clear as day. So she sends them all these images, and they're like, yeah, those have to be fake.
Well, it's like the Berenstain Bears. There was the guy that went to his attic that said he had old VHS tapes of it, and he had Berenstain Bears.
Same with Luke, I Am Your Father,
Yeah.
where it's in nowadays it's no, I am your father, but as I remember it from childhood, it was Luke, I am your father.
Yeah.
And then you find people who have old VHS copies, and that's what it says.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Because I can't remember the quote that way, like in the movie. But I remember Tommy Boy. He says,
oh, you're
into
right.
The fan, he says, "Luke, I am your father."
You're right.
So are we remembering
Different segments
his
from different movies?
representation of the movie, or are we remembering the movie that way?
So I can say from my point of view, I've seen Empire dozens upon dozens of times. I've seen Tommy Boy once. So, and it didn't even occur to me that that was in there till just now when you said that.
Yeah. And what's the other major one? It's like, fuck, I just had it in my head. But I do remember distinctly the cornucopia on Fruit of the Loom.
Same.
Yeah.
Or some of the other smaller ones like
Kazam, the
Looney
movie
Tunes?
Kazam. Looney Tunes.
yeah, Looney Tunes is one of them. The
Monopoly,
Sinbad
yeah.
movie.
Kazam.
Yeah,
Huh?
it was Kazam. Because
No,
I remember
Shazam.
Shazam.
Yeah, Kazam was the Shaquille O'Neal
Shaquille
one.
O'Neal, yeah.
I remember that distinctly because that was in a time where Hollywood was doing these like dual movie things where they would release two movies of like similar stories at the same time, because you had like Deep Impact and Armageddon. There's like 20 of them from that era, and I remember going, oh, it's just another one of those where it's like two of the same movie from different companies in the same year. And
Debbie does Dallas and Davey does Dallas.
It's true.
Yeah. Great movies.
Great.
Or Davey does something.
Say it with your chest. Yeah, no.
I don't know.
I remember Sinbad in the like maroon vest and the fez and all that shit. I remember seeing the trailer. I never saw the movie.
Yeah. So what's weird is like I heard something talking about him, about the Mandela effect, and him saying that he never made that movie, and so after that, as a joke, he went back and shot a scene from that movie and then put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
And they put it out there as kind of like, just kind of to add to the lore of the Mandela effect phenomenon with him in it. It was just kind of him trolling.
And then he later came out and said he did make that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think he was a little unhinged at the time. I think there was something wrong with him mentally. Like physically, he's kind of broke down now. So
Yeah.
I don't know though. There's so many of them that are just like, I know it was one way, but they say it's another way. But I'm still blaming the Large Hadron Collider. And I'm not the only one blaming that thing.
Obvi.
Someone else blames Traeger on that one.
You know what? I think before we move on past that, we need to establish what happened with that story. We don't have to name names, but I think the story needs to be told.
I can't even remember all the details now because we've relived it in so many different scenarios.
That's the Mandela effect.
That's the Mandela effect. But somebody was talking about. Oh, we were talking about I think we were talking about the Mandela effect, just kind of as we do at work. Just talking about all these weird things that we talk about on the show, on the podcast. I can't remember. I think it was
you and Scott.
Scott, yeah. Talking about, the Mandela effects and how we thought it was maybe because of the Large Hadron Collider, and then this certain individual was there, kind of walking and talking with us as we're just, working, and
it ruined his life.
That explains everything. So he'd gone through a breakup and all these things were happening in his life that, didn't make sense to him. So his clarification and justification for all the things that were happening
was Cinnabons.
That too. But was it because they had turned on the Large Hadron Collider that we even have Cinnabons, or was that established before 2008?
Well, the Large Hadron Collider goes in circles like a Cinnabon, right? I'm going to hell.
Is it Cinnabon or Cinnabon?
Ooh. Cinnabon.
I remember it as Cinnabon.
Me too. I don't know what it is now. Just assume it's changed.
Totally B-O-N.
B-O-N.
Has to be B-O-N.
I believe so.
Google? Oh. Yep. B-O-N.
Nice.
Can cancer be cured holistically?
Stitch, you want to talk about this one? I know you have ass cancer. By injection.
I was probed that night. What really happened the night when you
What
saw the
really
bright light?
happened?
The bright light and the shadow, take me back.
Is it weird that the IBS systems did happen afterwards?
I knew it, dude. I fucking knew it. He's pregnant with an Aryan. He's pregnant with an Aryan baby.
It's not dad bod. It's mom dad bod.
I've heard colon trauma can lead to IBS.
I believe it.
Reached the bottom, did he?
Or the top.
I blacked out. I don't know. It's kind of like what Travis's victims do.
Blacked out in fear. Now there's several ways to black out. You black out in fear, black out in pain, or you blacked out in ecstasy.
Fear.
I think it was a cocktail.
Yeah.
With a little bit of chloroform sprinkles.
A lot of bit of cock in his tail.
A lot of BLO, as you might say.
What do you think? Can cancer be cured holistically?
I don't know.
Solid answer. Anyway.
Solid.
I would like to think so.
I don't know. Scott was telling me the story about, I think it was Maddie's uncle, had cancer, and then he was drinking this like holistic cocktail of random shit, and he drank it like every day, and after a certain amount of time he was just cancer free.
Yeah.
I'd have to ask him what it was, but he was literally just telling me about it a few days ago. I believe so. I believe if there is a holistic way to cure cancer, we're never going to know about it. Big Pharma tends to lose money.
Well, there's a lady that
it's like they've shown that vegan diets can help cure diabetes.
Yeah, and diabetes is often classified as a certain kind of cancer. Well,
pancreas?
Yeah. I don't know.
Is your pancreas not forming enough insulin?
But there's a lady on... Oh, what the fuck is her name? I was just watching some of her videos the other day, and she's like a holistic healer, but she talks about like everything as being, all the chemicals in your body react within, in conjunction with each other, and so like anything that is in your body, you can add different substances in there to combat and regulate your systems in your body, but you have to know what the sources are of what. So I don't think that it would be something necessarily as like one thing or one drink or one cocktail of...
Because each body is different.
Yeah, each body is different. Each cancer is different. It affects parts of the body in a similar way, but like different parts of the body use different enzymes and shit like that, so you'd have to fight it with different substances. But she talks about all sorts of, curing all sorts of different ailments in your body holistically with different, not only just like different foods and diets, but like the times that you eat and the times that you like, for breakfast you should be eating a certain type of thing, and then for lunch you should be eating a certain type of thing, and then dinner you should be eating a certain type of thing. So it's not a one-size-fits-all type of like miracle cure for all types of cancer, but pretty interesting. I can't remember. She's like an Australian lady.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
she has a lot of videos on like Facebook Reels and TikToks and shit like that. But
yeah,
really interesting.
Yeah, I think more people are onto it than what we would think. But again, it just comes down to
money.
The loss of money from Big Pharma.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, chemo is fucking expensive.
I don't think they want to cure it at all.
No, why would they? That's why I'll never give money to cancer research.
Yeah. It's pretty fucking wild that they would do that. Here, why don't you look at this and pick...
And still, best of luck to you to your ass cancer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe you should get some like ice cream suppositories or
ice cream.
A ketchup popsicle.
How many freaking things do you guys got going on?
Pick one you like.
Best horror movies.
Ooh. Take us from the top, dude.
Give us a few.
I think some of my favorite horror movies would be the It 2017 remake. Not so much Chapter 2, because I feel like that flopped heavily. Saw. I think Saw was creative as fuck. And I feel like they kind of ran that down a rabbit hole. Beat it with a dead horse. And I love the Halloween movies. I love the Chucky movies.
Did you like the new remake of Chucky?
It wasn't bad. I loved Smile. Smile was really fucking good. Very creative. Very unexpected jump scares.
Yeah, I think A24 made Smile, right?
Yeah.
The studio? Yeah, so they're leading the pack in horror movies.
Did you see that they have a new movie out right now?
Tarot?
The Glow of the TV or some shit like that?
I haven't. I do want to see Tarot, though.
Yeah.
I heard it was actually pretty good, which is crazy because it's kind of a silly premise.
I saw the TV Glow, A24.
I'd give it a watch. I think the only A24 movie they put out that I thought was extremely underwhelming was Hereditary.
See,
I never watched it.
I couldn't get into it. I had to turn it off. It was just boring to me at first, but it has such a huge following behind it.
So, like, the initial scene where the girl essentially gets beheaded was, like, pure shock. And then the movie was boring until the end, and then the ending was, like,
What
almost...
the fuck?
Yeah, it was kind of M. Night Shyamalan kind of twist, and you're just like, huh?
Yeah, M. Night Shyamalan can't make a fucking horror movie anymore.
I think he just made another one. Just
Yeah.
out in theaters right now.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, Old was fucking so dumb.
Yeah.
See, I thought The Visit was really good, and then
Until
he
the
fucked
end.
it up with the end.
Yeah.
I thought The Village was pretty good, and then he fucked it up with the end.
I'm like the only person I know of who thought the ending of The Village was creative. I thought it was a welcome twist. The fact that they were living in this village.
In like the fucking 18th century,
Yeah,
and all
and
of a
they
sudden it's 2000s.
Yeah, and then you find out, like, the monsters were just the villagers in costume, and they'd just been living secluded and using the monsters to keep people in from leaving the village. I was like, that's fucking great.
I didn't mind that as a twist, but I feel like I just figured it out, like, halfway through the movie. We're just waiting for the reveal. Like, yeah, that's what I thought.
I kind of did too, but then I was like, there's no way that they would end it that way. And then when they did, I was like, holy shit, they actually fucking did it.
You know what would be, for M. Night Shyamalan's next movie, the biggest twist would be to not put a twist at the end?
Just, that would be the ultimate twist.
Holy shit, they just died?
I was thinking about...
It's like The Mist, where they all fucking die, and then he's like, oh, everything's good now.
after he had to kill everybody in the car.
Yeah.
And then the mist subsides and all the soldiers come by and he's like, ah!
Yeah.
What the fuck? Yeah.
That movie, that ending was disturbing to me.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't wrap my mind around it.
Like, if you were that guy, the chances of suicide are pretty fucking high at that point.
Oh, yeah.
At that point, is it like, was there a mist, or did you just fucking kill everybody?
Were you actually a psycho the whole time?
I imagined the whole thing. Oh, my God.
Have you guys watched
Shutter Island.
the fall of the house of Usher?
No, I haven't, but I've been meaning to.
It's really fucking good. So I watched it when it first came out, and then Kara wanted to watch it. She was like, "Oh yeah, I'm on like episode 3. Do you mind if I watch this?" And I was like, "No, yeah." Turned it on. It was right after you left the other day, and so we turned it on, and of course she fell asleep, and I sat there and fucking watched the whole series again. But it's really fucking good, and it's like a horror series, but it's all based off of the poems of Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, that's what interested me in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there are like lines from the poems and shit that you'll recognize throughout the series, but it's really good.
What are your favorite horror movies?
Well, I mean, we did an episode on this already, but my favorite is Insidious.
Insidious?
Yeah. And I actually recently watched the last Insidious movie, and I kind of went, why did you guys even make this movie? Like, what was the point? Yeah, that one. I do love a lot of the classics. You know, the
Halloween, Nightmare
Chucky,
on Elm Street,
Nightmare, yeah, all that stuff is...
Friday the 13th.
It's good, but I think because I'm older, that movies like that just don't appeal to me anymore. Like, I'll still watch it, but I don't feel
it's not
that...
as fascinating now.
Yeah, and I think the fact that I don't feel fear the same as I did as a child plays a huge factor. In fact, one of the last like really good horror movies I watched was The Taking of Deborah Logan. Love that fucking movie.
Just eats a whole fucking person.
Just like this big
Swallows him
unhinged
just like a
jaw.
snake. So I just watched, a couple weeks ago, I watched Late Night with the Devil. That was pretty good, if you haven't seen that one.
I heard that was really good.
Yeah. A different twist on, like, a demonic entity, for sure. A lot of, like, creepy... I don't remember there being, like, jump scares or anything like that. But it's, like, just creepy and, like, whole different take on it is...
There's a whole tone.
Yeah, difference. Yeah. Just different. So it was like, after we watched it, I was like... I couldn't decide if I liked that movie or not.
No.
One of those movies, and then after I thought about it, I was like, dude, that was really fucking good.
Have you seen the movie Nefarious?
No, it sounds so familiar.
So it's about this, pretty sure he's a reporter, goes into the prison.
Yeah. I was telling Stitch about that movie the other day, or like a month ago.
That's a good one because it's not straight up horror, it's just unsettling.
Yeah.
And you have the mystery that goes on for most of the movie where you're like, is he not?
Yeah. Same thing with the Late Night with the Devil, because he brings this girl on and a psychiatrist to kind of prove that, like, the afterlife is real and she's possessed by a demon, and kind of the same thing where you don't know. And then there's an illusionist that's there to try to debunk everything, to tell it, to explain what the psychiatrist is, doing to fake it.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole movie, you're just like, did that really happen, or is this, same kind of vibe?
I love the psychological horrors.
Yeah, I think
to make you think.
Kind of lately, I'm kind of moving towards that. It's funny because, like, I've watched like all the Conjuring universe movies, like The Nun and all those movies, and Annabelle, and my kids have watched all those movies also. And one of their friends has been coming over, and they'll watch like a scary movie, like one of the Annabelle movies or one of the Conjuring movies, and which I don't think that they're supposed to be doing.
Conjuring 2 is my favorite.
Super, like, sheltered kid.
Yeah.
But they're watching them, and my kids are unfazed by those movies, and so they're like, "Oh, let's watch Nightmare on Elm Street, the original one." They put it on and watched like halfway through it, and then shut it off and came upstairs. And they were too scared. I just thought it was funny, like, dude, I swear. Well, I guess the first Nightmare movie was pretty scary.
But then they get stupid.
You have a tolerance of this, so this is kind of new to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you watch the remake?
Yeah. In like 2010,
somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah. I mean, it was different.
Yeah.
A totally different movie. Yeah, I liked it.
What did you think?
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I know it got so much hate, and I understand that Jackie Earle Haley isn't Robert Englund.
Yeah.
I mean, you know that from the start, but it's like, you can hate on the remake all you want, but don't go ahead and tell me that, like, Nightmare 2, 3, 4, 5, fucking all the way through 12 or whatever it is are good movies.
No.
Like, if you're only comparing it to the very original, okay, I'll give you that one. But don't say this whole set of movies is good, but this remake sucks.
No, yeah.
Like
so that was the whole departure from a new person playing Freddy, and like I said, I thought the movie was okay, but it was just like you go into it looking for a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, and it's something different. Like,
yeah.
I think he did a great job as Freddy Krueger, and he was fucking menacing as fuck in that movie.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, even going through the Nightmare on Elm Street series, like, one was scary, the second one was kind of scary, and it's like, okay, they're trying to add on to this. The third one, where it's like the Dream Kids and shit.
Yeah, the Dream
started
Warriors
just being kind of a fantasy movie.
Yeah.
you know, and then
Same
the next
as
couple
Halloween.
ones after that.
Yeah.
And then the New Nightmare, Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
I love that one.
That one was fucking scary.
I love that one. It was so good.
And then they went off the rails with like fucking Jason versus Freddy and
Alien versus Predator.
yeah.
Yeah, Alien versus Predator. I'll take the hate. I don't think those movies should have existed.
Yeah.
I get why they did it, like trying to merge these two big IPs, but those IPs stand alone.
Well, what is it? The second Predator, where he's walking through the ship. I showed him that the other day.
Yeah, and he opens up the room
Display
with all the
case.
skulls. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went on a deep dive on that. So Alien versus Predator didn't exist before that. The prop master was like, hey, I'm just going to throw this in here for fun.
Easter egg.
Yeah, just a little nod to, fans of both IPs. And I think it was Marvel took notice of it. Was like, dude, what if we made Alien and Predator fight? And so they came up with tons and tons of different comics that was the sole focus of. And then, in 2003, they started making the movie Alien vs. Predator, which by all rights had all the correct parts to it, but for some reason didn't work.
Yeah.
Like, you had good actors, you had an interesting story, you had these two juggernauts of film that were like these crazy, scary, like, antagonists. All of it should have worked, but it didn't. Like, you watch the movie and you're like, this movie's actually fucking boring. And it's a whole CGI fest, and it's too well lit, and the female protagonist, who's a really good actress, but she doesn't have like that Ripley energy, you know. So it just didn't work well. And then they came out with AVP Requiem. That movie is hot garbage.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
So it's like I really hope that they don't try to make that again.
Well, I think that.
And then there's Prey, which is glorious.
Yeah.
I did like Prey.
They're making a new Alien movie too.
Yeah, Romulus.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with, but at the same time I'm kind of tired of that IP because they cranked out so many shitty sequels. Because you had Alien, which was great, and then Aliens, which in my opinion is a better movie.
Yeah.
And then they just went.
Yeah. For me, like the Aliens versus Predator story, I think that, like looking back at it, I think it you kind of lose almost the thrill, because it's not anymore like in Predator. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger fighting against the Predator, and then Aliens, it's Sigourney Weaver fighting against the alien, and it's like you're rooting for this human person to overcome this alien force. Where in Alien versus Predator, you're like, okay, well, they're both aliens.
Who's
I
gonna
like
win?
Predator. He's cool. He's got some cool gadgets. And the Xenomorph, like, is just a fucking crazy alien, so you don't really know. You don't really have, like, a side to fucking...
Well, it was the same thing with Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah.
It just came down to which one of the two you liked better.
Yeah.
Like,
And then they both were alive at the end.
yeah.
It's like, obviously, these guys have been killed multiple times, so there's no winning outcome for either one.
No, it's such a silly idea that movie almost got a sequel. Did you know this?
No.
Yeah.
So it almost got a sequel
Yeah.
with
Really?
Freddy versus Jason versus Ash from
Yeah.
Evil Dead.
Yep.
It was this fucking close
Wow.
to getting made. In which case, you're just like, yeah, dude, I'm rooting for Ash,
Yeah.
the man with the chin. Like,
This is just parody movies at this point.
yeah, at that point, you're just like,
Is this made by the Wayans brothers?
Is this another scary movie?
hey, don't shit on Scary Movie. 1 and
I
2
love
were
Scary
fucking
Movie.
great.
Yeah, yeah.
Was it you that was saying they're making a new one?
Mm-hmm. They're claiming it's going to be better and funnier.
Yeah, I'd never heard that one before.
Yeah.
This is going to be the best sequel. We're at like 6 or 7 movies now. We're going to reinvent everything. No, you're not.
Well, it was like all the scary movies, and it was like Meet the Spartans, and then like...
Oh, yeah, superhero movie,
Yeah.
and Yeah.
Not another teen movie.
Hey, I like, what was it, Haunted House? That one's entertaining.
Oh, yeah.
Where they were basing it off of Sinister and Annabelle.
Yeah.
Dude, speaking of horror movies that totally jumped the shark. Scary movie in the worst undertones. Yeah, I'll catch it on Hulu. Sorry, Crackle. Hulu's not going to pay for that.
Shudder.
I'll watch it on Shudder. I'll watch it on Comedy Central.
So we've been kind of getting into this trope, me and Scott, where we watch these movies that are so bad they're good.
Yeah.
And one that we watched that we both thought was actually going to be at least mediocre, but was so bad, was Jeepers Creepers Reborn. It's so terrible. There's like 4 different fucking scenes where the creeper goes up to the record player and puts it on that song in the movie.
I thought you were going to say The Babadook. That movie was fucking terrible too.
I didn't get all the way through it.
That could have been a really cool movie.
Babadook?
It should have been a really good movie.
Turns out it was just her depression the whole time.
Yeah.
And she just had to lock it away.
Yeah. She wasn't getting enough orgasms.
Oh, there was this one movie I watched a while back, and I didn't actually know what the premise was. I saw the trailer and I was like, oh, this looks interesting. I think it was called Malignant.
Yeah.
I've seen that movie.
Yeah, where it's like the trailer makes it look like, oh, this could be a good scary movie. And then you watch the movie and you're like, this is the stupidest fucking premise I've ever heard in my whole life. Turns out
half of it's supposed to be like serious and the other half is like
comical.
Dude, like when the fucking vestigial twin or whatever it is takes over and like murks a whole room full of cops and you're just like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Karen and I were like, I mean, we do that all the time. We like find the dumbest movie we can find on Amazon and then watch them. But that was one that was like, oh, this actually looks pretty, because the trailer makes it look like it's an interesting story. Like, really doesn't lend to the fucking like stupidness of the movie until you get like halfway in and you're like, wait, is this supposed to be a comedy or what the fuck is going on?
Dude, I got a recommendation for you.
What?
I can't remember what I watched it on. It's called Slaughterhouse.
Amazon Prime?
Maybe it was on Prime. I don't know. Have you watched it?
No, my kids have been talking about it for like a month.
Velocipaster.
Velocipaster was good, dude.
The fucking sloth is like this murderous sloth, and he moves like a sloth does.
We also have someone like that at work.
We have a bunch of those.
Slother chair.
Chair. The chair.
I know who you're talking about.
Killer sofa.
Murderous love seat. All right, let's
no
do one more
stool
topic.
Goes unwarmed.
The other day. No, I'll tell you guys after.
Oh, let's see here. Let's pick a good one. Oh, man, I'm having a hard time choosing. Manifestation. Do you believe you can manifest things?
Do you believe your negative thoughts can manifest demons?
That's a heavy question. I believe your negative thoughts can turn you into a demon.
Oh!
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's like, obviously if I just sit here and think hard enough about, like, say having $1 million,
all of a sudden Facebook knows and they have a bunch of videos on how to get $1 million.
Well, yeah. And manifestation in itself, like saying that you're thinking about something to the point where it comes true. If I just sit here and think about wanting $1 million, 100% no way that I'm going to get $1 million. Now, if I sit here and think of ways that I can come up with $1 million, I could probably do it. You know, it might take some time and a lot of effort and lots of failed attempts and like changing and tweaking and
some hits to your ego and self-beliefs.
Yeah, turning on the Large Hadron Collider a few times and
selling pictures of your feet in bathwater.
Yeah, so a couple failed OnlyFans fucking accounts, but
taking pictures of your
I think in that in that regard, manifestation could work through means of hard work, but you know, just manifestation in itself, I don't think so.
So what's the difference between, let's say you sit there and you manifest $1 million, right? Obviously it doesn't just show up. But while you're sitting there manifesting, you go, what if I was to start this company or whatever?
Or invest in this and maybe
or
huge.
Yeah, or, you know, you dump your stock into another stock and suddenly you make $1 million. What's the difference between manifesting $1 million and manifesting a method to come up with $1 million?
The actual work involved with doing it. Like, so I do, like I said, like, manifesting to me is like
making something appear from nothing.
Yeah. Whereas, like, coming up with an idea, putting that into effect and having it work out in your favor, and then getting somewhere because you've done
the work for it.
A series of steps to get there. I
mean,
there's a difference to me, for sure.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Do I think it's possible for some people? Potentially. Oh, you got me closer to this.
Yeah.
So we talked about people being able to do telekinesis. Who's to say people don't have the brain power to manifest something out of nothing?
Yeah. I do believe that there's a certain level of manifestation that's totally real. In terms of, we see it all the time, where you'll get some random thought in your head about something, or whatever it is. And then you see something about it, you know, in a week or two.
Yeah.
In a way, that's kind of a manifestation. Or better yet, you go, oh, I wonder what so-and-so's up to now. Like, you don't even have to say it, you just think it. Oh,
and then all of a sudden they're messaging you.
Yeah, and then you get a message
later
from them randomly, you know, a day or two later, or a week later, or whatever. Something's on your mind, or like a movie you haven't seen in 10 years, and you know, you laugh about it. And here's a case in point. Remember we were talking about Wishmaster?
Yeah.
Where the dude in prison was like, I wish my lawyer would go fuck himself.
Yeah.
Later on that day, I was looking at TikTok, and that clip came up on TikTok.
Really?
Yeah. So I believe manifestation in that aspect is totally true. The ability to just manifest.
I think that's just because TikTok is listening to you.
Well, I think your phone listens to you and in some way knows what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Because you could think about something and it pops up in your Instagram feed or whatever. It happens all the time.
Yeah, you'll talk about pizza, all of a sudden you have fucking ads for Domino's and Papa John's and shit.
Which, I just gotta do this real quick. Fuck the ATF. So, just so my phone heard it. Yeah, the ability to just manifest an object out of thin air, not so much.
Yeah.
Although I do believe that there is a wide array of things that are possible that we believe are impossible. So there's definitely like a percentage of me that goes, it could be. But for the most part, no. Manifestation of certain things like, you know, let's say in a week, I'm just hanging out at home, you know, doing chores or whatever, and I think about something you said that was funny, and then I get a text from you 5 minutes later. That's manifestation. It's real. But yeah, that's kind of where physical boundaries cross. Not so much.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that goes into the connection of people's energies and stuff like that. Whereas, like, if you're thinking about a certain person and they call you, most likely you guys were having kind of a wavelength connection, yeah, together, and then they were probably doing the same thing on their end. Picked the phone, gave you a call.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a simulation theory, and in this part of the simulation, you remember there was a phone call, so you're sitting there thinking about this person, and all of a sudden there's a phone call.
Could be.
Who knows? I'm manifesting one of these M&Ms to be in my mouth, but it's not going to get there unless I put it there.
I mean, I've been manifesting quite a gross romp with Scarlett Johansson for some time, and it's just not coming true. So
yeah. Well, good luck with that.
Hardly seems fair.
Just have Travis come over with a red wig.
The fuck is wrong with you? Why is it always Travis?
Because I hate him.
Wow.
Ah, dude.
Sorry. Strong dislike.
We'll have to talk about that.
Enough.
Therapy enough.
Therapy enough. You know, if you take the word therapist and you put a space between the E and the R,
The rapist.
the rapist. Once I discovered that, I can't unsee it. I'm going to go see my therapist. Dun, dun, dun. All right, let's close that one out. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm thinking about manifesting 10,000 views on this. Listens, downloads.
10,000 sounds great.
Yeah, there you go.
10,000 would be dope.
That's a manifestation.
I'm going to manifest that Stitch actually go back and listen to some of these.
Yeah, I should probably do that.
Yeah, you probably should. Now that you know what it's all about.
Yeah.
And how we do.
And how fun it is.
Yeah.
My final thought is just keep an open mind. Whatever it is, whatever outlandish topic it is, keep an open mind.
Yeah.
Could be real. We don't know.
Yeah.
Keep an open butthole.
No, look what happened to Stitch. Kept an open butthole, got fucking colon trauma, pregnant with an Aryan baby, and he's got IBS.
Not fun.
But the act probably was.
It's fun.
He's like,
I wouldn't remember.
He's like, I don't know, I blacked out. All right, thanks, guys.
Bye.
See ya.
Okay, I love you. Bye-bye.